allies, and anybody that wants to learn more about the LGBT plus community. My name is Zanardi, and I'm so glad all your beautiful faces are here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 12 of the Alphabet Mafia podcast. I want to say thank you all to those that have supported the show, and thank you so much to those that left a review. Taking the 30 to 60 seconds to just leave a review and give people context as to the value this podcast brings and what they can expect from it really means a lot. So today's guest is named Santiago. He is a young gay man. He immigrated to the United States when he was just 1 year old. And thankfully for him, he had a terrific high school experience with a very supportive group of friends. Unfortunately for Santiago, his parents were not as accepting as most people would like their parents to be. So a lot of our conversation revolves around mutual respect. We really talk a lot about learning from others and just how to deal with people who may be different from you and how to respect others' viewpoints. So without further ado, here is Santiago. Santiago, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from and what you like doing and things like that.
Right now I'm from Escondido, California, but originally my parents were from Mexico. Okay. So then I was born in Mexico too, and I only lived in Mexico for a year. So I moved here since at the age of 1 year old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been here basically all my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I resided in California almost all my life. Mm-hmm. And
do you remember any of Mexico at all? I mean, you were really little.
Yeah,
so
it was
not.
Probably I don't remember anything. The only thing I can really remember is from 3 and up, probably okay. 4 and up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just pretty much got here when you were 1 year old and pretty much raised here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like growing up, I guess being an immigrant, how was that transition?
Well, I feel like I've always grown up as an American, mm-hmm. as in American customs and all of that.
Yeah.
So I always grew up feeling like an American.
Okay.
Just besides the fact that I wasn't born here. So I grew up with a normal lifestyle that a normal American would have, just the fact that I wasn't born here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but other than that, it's been I feel with my experience with growing up, it's been weird, and it's been a lot of ups and downs.
Uh-huh.
But being gay, I feel it wasn't as difficult for me growing up too, because a lot of the people around me, they were all different, as in a lot of us grew up with immigrant parents, mm-hmm. and we all kind of had a community where if you were different, it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel at a young age, I always knew that it was okay, but I still a little bit behind me, the voice behind, or the voice in my head.
Yeah.
The voice in my head would sometimes say oh, it's not okay, and also growing up in a religious household,
mm-hmm.
it was always something to watch out for, because it's kind of scary knowing that your parents, they could get mad at something.
Sure.
And they don't understand it as much as you don't understand. So it's
right.
A really difficult situation for both of us. But
what age did you start to notice those feelings?
I actually known at a really young age,
mm-hmm.
since my babysitter would turn on her Mexican soap operas, and I would see a guy on the TV show, and he was good looking, and
yeah.
I always thought guys are prettier than girls.
Okay.
And, it's always been at a young age that I knew that, but it was never anything that I thought was weird to myself, mm-hmm. until people started saying the ignorant people that I would be around with at school, or they'd be
yeah.
oh, that's gay, but they didn't really know.
Right. Before the labels,
yeah.
you were just being yourself, and you
yeah.
thought it was fine.
Yeah.
And then exterior forces come, mm-hmm. and start labeling things, mm-hmm. and they tell you it's bad or negative, and
mm-hmm.
then you start to feel bad. Or
yeah. So even though people knew it was gay, it was still gay. It was bad, or they thought it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was it wasn't anything that people really cared about, but they still in the back of their head they knew, or they thought it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so your parents were religious as well?
Mm-hmm.
What faith?
They're Catholic.
They're Catholic.
Yeah. So I ended up going through all of the most of the Catholic the baptism, confirmation, communion. But I feel I mostly did it for my parents, mm-hmm. not for myself.
Right. And so what was that like then, growing up in the church and being pretty active in the church?
I feel like for me, it was really uncomfortable just because, like, knowing that these people, like, had different views from me. And, like, they probably would never take the time to, like, try to have a normal conversation with knowing that, like, I'm gay.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, just, like, it's just kind of tough sometimes knowing that you have to be, like, around people that wouldn't, like, accept you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they, like, preaching, they told you it was bad. They taught, you know, homosexuality is a sin, and that you're going to hell and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always tough. I think a lot of people do relate to that experience because, you know, any form of Christianity is the most dominant, prominent, I guess, religion in the United States and Mexico, most of North America. So, yeah, and so you start noticing these feelings at a pretty young age, you said, and then you started getting bullied, I guess, or people started saying bad things.
So with me, it was more like in elementary school, it was more like people were like, oh yeah, like it's like bad, or like it was like not like a really good thing, especially because like little kids, like, you know, like they're like a lot more tough than like people now would be. But like growing up, like in middle school, like I started like saying, like, going through the transition as like a lot of people have, like saying like they're bisexual. Yeah, but like for me it was more of like I had like a little girlfriend at first, like till like 6th to 7th grade. But then I realized that like my feelings for her were more of like a friend type of feeling, and like
more platonic.
Yeah, more platonic. And then it was more of like my friends, or like the whole school kind of like got the gist that like I was, you know, like I was into guys and I was like a lot more feminine than like the most people at our school.
Yeah.
Because like my school is mostly like Latinos and like a couple of white, like probably like 2 white people, like 5 black people, and like the others like are probably like 5 from like other different races, you know.
Yeah.
But it was mostly like a Latin like community. So.
And how is gay culture in the Latin community? Or how is
at first, like, it's mostly like the kids. If the kids are the people that usually don't care about it, but like once they start getting influenced with their parents, and like a lot of dads, like they're known as like machistas, and like basically what that is in like English is like a dad who's really into just being like masculine, like feelings are hidden and like all of that. So like that's what a lot of like boys have to go through. But with girls, it's more like common, like for Latin girls to like have gay friends and like not care, because like they know it's not bad, you know. Yeah, so it's more of like I got more along with the girls and like than the guys, but I would still like hang out with like the boys still, but it was more of like they didn't really care, but it was more of like how would you say it? It was more of like a mutual respect, because like they didn't let it define me, but like I still wasn't really fully out to everyone then, but it was more of like a mutual respect.
So this is like 7th grade, 8th grade, and so you knew inside that you were gay, but you hadn't expressed that yet, right?
I've only told like my close friends that I was like bisexual, but like obviously it was more of like a leading into like becoming gay and like accepting that I'm gay. But in high school it was like a lot different, because I ended up like being friends with my friends for middle school, because like you know how in middle school like you can branch out to different high schools, and like your friend group, like they all leave. So like my friend group, it was like a handful of us, and like a lot of us moved to like one school, and like there was like 2 schools that we all separated from, and I ended up hanging out with like 2 people that I used to hang out with in middle school, and like I hung out with them all of like freshman year. But then I realized that like they were kind of holding me back from like a high school experience, like a normal one, because like the high school that I moved to, it was more of like, it started mixing more of like people together, so it was like more like white people and like people from like different schools, and like it was more of like a bigger community. So then like when I was like with those 2 people all the time, like they were Mexican, like that doesn't change the fact, but like it was more of like I felt like I was trapped and like I couldn't like live my life.
Right, you felt in a bubble, and they weren't letting you branch, or you just didn't feel like you could branch out.
I didn't feel like I could branch out, as in like I wanted them to come with me too, but it was more of like them being too like timid or like liking to have their circle small.
Sure.
Because like I feel like I'm a really social person, so like with that, like they weren't really that social, so they were more timid than I was. So then like I started hanging out with like the new people, and like at first like you know how in high school too, like at first like when you're growing up, like freshmen are usually like more ignorant than
right.
like seniors, so like it was kind of like tough, like
you have to kind of like put on a mask and try to be like, you try to act a little bit more cooler than you are, because you think you're super cool now that you're in high school, and you want to be the top dog. Yeah. So you're trying to do that.
But at that point, everyone knew that like I was gay.
Okay.
Yeah. So even like all the boys and everything. But
even though you hadn't said it.
Okay. Like it was mostly like like everyone knows.
Yeah.
But like during sophomore year, it was more of like when I started transitioning like to a different friend group, and like I started hanging out with like different races, and like started like taking in more of like what it's like to not just live with like around Mexican people and just like the Latin community.
Were you bullied at all when everyone knew you were gay?
Not really. There was just like one instance like throughout high school that was like, that kind of was like, it wasn't like really bullying, but like it was just like someone who asked me like during class one time.
Yeah.
Like they asked me like, like it was more of like a mocking way. Like they asked me like, oh, like are you gay?
Like a rhetorical question. Yeah.
And then like everyone just like was like quiet, and like it was really like scary, and I was like, oh, like yeah, like
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like really uncomfortable just to like have that out, like.
Yeah.
And
for context, what time frame is this? What year is this?
It was like freshman year maybe.
Well, like what? I don't mean to like date you, like, but what year were you going through high school?
Oh, the years that I was going to high school would be 2015 to 2018.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So fairly recent. Yeah. Yeah. I just, and for the audience's sake, I just wanted to let them know like it is fairly recent. Because obviously, if this was in the 80s, like it'd be a whole different story. People would be, what? You're gay? Yeah.
So it's like it's more of like a Gen Z type of story.
Yeah.
Because like if you think about it, like a lot of Gen Z people are more accepting now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, because like I hang out with like majority, because like I was telling you, I would hang out with like the girls, and like I started transitioning to like the different groups and like races. And then it started going into me hanging out with the jocks, and like they all knew I was gay, and they were all fine with it.
That's awesome. That's really.
So then like from like to this day, they're all still my best friends, and like yeah, so that's always been like something I've been very like blessed with, like being friends with all of them.
Yeah, and through this at this time in sophomore year, did your parents know?
They recently found out, but it was more of like they've always known, but they've never wanted to like say anything.
Right.
But it's still like kind of like behind their heads, like we don't really talk about it type thing.
It's okay. So
yeah.
And when you say recently, like in the past year,
it was like during this year. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how did that go? What was that like?
At first it was my dad that found out, but
how?
He like confronted me because what was it? I forgot. I think it was like someone who told him or something like that. And then like he just confronted me about it, and then I was just like, well, what does it change from like what you know from me? And like that's when I feel like he realized that like it's true, like it doesn't change who I am. So I feel like it was a little bit easier than I would have expected, but it was. I feel like it's good how it is now, just because like I don't want to push like things onto them, and as much as I wouldn't want them to push things onto me. Right. Yeah.
And so that was kind of the last they talked about it.
Yeah.
And so you don't talk about it now. They don't ask you, are you seeing anyone? They don't anything like that.
Yeah.
And you don't bring it up, obviously. What is that like? You know, I guess for context, do you still live with them? Do you see them often?
Yeah, I still live with them.
You still live with them, so you're obviously seeing them often. What is that like? You know, being in an environment where you kind of have to suppress yourself.
Yeah. I feel like with like things like that, like I've already like been able to at least express myself like with like clothes and like things like that. So I like buy things, like I wear things that normally not like a straight guy would wear.
Sure.
Yeah. So, cause like I feel like I'm more expressive like with my clothes, but like I feel like throughout time, like they just started to understand like it's just like how I am. Like, I'm not gonna go around and telling them like, oh, I don't like what you're wearing, so like, can you please change it? So like, it's more of like a mutual respect with my parents. Like, if I wouldn't do that to you, like, you shouldn't do it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it doesn't feel necessarily that bad. Okay. That's good. And they're Catholic, right? What did they? I guess tell you bad things about homosexuality? Did they ever try to like sit down with you and tell you how bad it was? Or
I feel like if it were like, I don't think it's gotten like to that point, or at least I don't remember. But like if it were to, I feel like I would just tell them that like it'd be like there's like a lot of other bad things that the Bible says that like is a sin, and it's like I can just like it could just bring up points, like it could just bring up points like of things that like that the Bible says that are bad, that people are still doing, that people that we know that are still doing, they're possibly still doing, you know?
Right.
So it's more of like, if they were to like try to like fact check me about being gay with the church, then I'd like try to fact check them with like the things that they do. So.
Yeah. And the Pope said it was okay.
Yeah, he was just saying let them live their lives, right? Yeah, so.
What was that word for the Hispanic masculine?
Machista.
Machista. Is your dad a machista?
So not much. So I feel like that's where I got lucky too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Cause like I feel like my dad's more understanding about that, but he's not too machista now. Like he didn't grow up like that with us.
What are their overall perceptions? Let's say like you weren't gay. What do you think their overall worldview or opinion on LGBT would be?
I feel like it would be more of like them feeling that it's wrong, because like it just mostly feel like it's wrong, and like you just have to be with the other gender, you know? And I feel like it's also like it's like you have to suppress things, I feel, and that's like what I feel like a lot of the machistas do too. Like these like to suppress like their feelings, and like so a lot of the machistas, like they put their kids into sports and stuff, for example. So like they can say like, oh, instead of putting your anger out and like your emotions into like trying to resolve them, just put them into the sport. Right. Like that's how I feel would be like a good example of like how a machista is.
Okay. Yeah, so it's almost toxic masculinity.
Basically.
Yeah. Nice. And so I guess how has your life been post high school in terms of being gay? Do you experience much homophobia? Not at all.
My friends, so like you know how I told you that my friends they're all straight.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them are straight, because I have one gay friend, but they're all friends with him too, and like we all go like to trips together, like the river or like festivals and things like that. So like we're all fine, but like they all like see me like a little brother, as in like if someone were to like say something to me or like anything like that, like they would always defend me.
They would have your back. Be ready to fight a bitch.
Basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's always good to know that I have that support system.
Yeah. Would you say that's one of the most important things for someone that is gay or struggling in anything, is to find that system?
Yeah, because I feel like me and like all of my friends, like we've learned things from each other. Like I've learned things from them as much as they've learned things from me. Because like how it is with my parents, like it's more of like a mutual respect with that I have with them, and then the same thing like that they have with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the key things that you think you might have learned from them?
I feel like it's like be able to talk to people like that, even if they have like different views with me, like different views than me, because like I feel like just knowing that someone has different views than you, and like not being able to talk to them just because of that reason. Yeah. Like my friend, a good way that my friend like explained it to me is like it could prevent a friendship, because like I said, my friend, his name is Quentin, and he's the one that first like started hanging out with me and like wanted to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And like we turned out to be like best friends, like family. So he brought up a good point where he's like, why would you want to? So it's like, why would you want to suppress your ideas about people? And wait, let me start.
No, you're good.
He said he was more like, why would you want to avoid people that don't have the same ideas as you when it can lead into something that can be like a friendship or something like that, even if you have different views.
Right.
Because like you can still be friends with people even if they don't have the same views as you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can learn from each other. I think a diversity of ideas is a good thing. Not all ideas are good, but at least a diversity of ideas to begin with. And then you can learn. And, you know, I think in the end, like the best idea will win, or the person will start to change their views.
Because like a lot of my friends, like we all have, it's like a big pot of like different ideas, and like, and that's like one thing that I'm also like grateful of having too, because like we all have different ideas, and like we can like learn from like the other person's point of view, or like they can learn from me, like as in like how I said, like they've learned a lot from me as in like accepting people, even if like they're not like your average looking person, like they know like what to show mutual respect to everyone, even if they're not like someone that they would normally like talk to.
Yeah. And going back to growing up in the Catholic Church, I think this is important for a lot of people. Are you still practicing any faith?
No, not really, but I still do like feel like there's like a higher power that does love everyone who like, you know, like they just like, I don't think someone would like make all of this and just hate everyone. You know?
Yeah. That's it's becoming a little more brought up a lot on this podcast, but yeah, the idea of a higher being, and a lot of people that I've talked to, you know, they do believe in just finding your own God, I guess, you know, in a way that whatever works for you. And we recently had a gay Muslim on the podcast, and that's incredible, because even more so, like Muslims are persecuted for being gay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really finding a way to believe that is fitting for you, because ultimately I don't think a God would make LGBTQ people gay and just to send them down.
Like, that's not like for example, like I knew at a young age, before I even knew what gay was.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's not a debate anymore. Like being gay is not a choice. You know. So yeah. Cool. And what advice would you have for anyone that has been in your shoes before? Maybe they are in a similar situation with their parents, where it's just not talked about. What would you tell them?
I would just say probably just do your best to show them that you have like the same respect towards them. And like, for example, like if you can't expect them to listen to you if you're not listening to them. So like, let's say with like things around the house, like it's better to help them around those things, because they can't, it'd be better off to not give them a reason to show you that you're a bad person.
Right.
So it's always like, I feel like always just show them that you're a good person, regardless of like what your sexuality is or whatever. Like always just like show that you're a better person. And even if like they get mad at you, just always like stay calm, and like, cause like it's hard and frustrating knowing that your parents can like have different views as you. So I feel like it's always good to stay calm and like level-headed, because it can be really like your emotions can be all over the place knowing that your parents are like not supportive of you, or like they could be not supportive of you.
Right.
So always just like keep a level-headed headed mindset.
Yeah, that's awesome. Basically win with love, you know, like just show them love, and if they don't show love back, I mean, that's their own problem.
Yeah,
like,
like
at least
you're trying. Yeah. At least you're trying to have like a connection with them, and like try to make them understand. Yeah. But like it all doesn't have to be at once. Like it takes time too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it is kind of hard for a lot of people, because teen angst is definitely a thing, and you know, when you are in that position where you think the world hates you, you think your parents hate you, like all of that, it's hard to show love and be a good, genuine person. But if you do that, then there's no reason for them to not like you.
Yeah,
you know?
like you always have to step back and like look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you learned? Do you think? What do you think you've learned from your parents in terms of like relating to this? I guess.
I feel like I learned a lot of things from them, like also just being nice to people and things like that. But it was more of like respect and like manners and things like that. I feel like I learned from them, and just like how to be like around people and just like how not to like bug people and things like that. You know, just like common things.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I learned with them, but there are some things that I did have to learn for myself and like through my own experiences, because like parents aren't perfect, you know. Sometimes like they don't catch their mistakes like of what they're doing when they're like parenting you like throughout your life. So I did have to learn some things like from my friends and like from their parents. So I feel like I picked up a lot from like even other parents.
Yeah, just about respect, being a good human. That's great. So, guess where can the audience find you? Maybe Instagrams or?
Yeah, I do. I have one Instagram.
Okay.
Or I have two actually. I have an earring page and Instagram.
Oh, nice.
My main Instagram is st.santi with 3 I's, and then my earring page is e_earrings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, they can check you out there. Yeah. Well, thank you, Santiago, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about your experience. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.